I moved away to protect my son from my family. Then an unmarked letter showed up in his backpack at school.
Hi, I'm Elliot, 34, software consultant, divorced, single dad, and, until recently, a professional rug for my family to walk all over. It was supposed to be just another Sunday lunch. Same chairs, same passive-aggressive roast, same weathered cloth napkins that haven't seen a guest since 2008. Just me, my parents, and my older brother, Graham, the crown prince of chaos. I should have known something was up the moment I walked in and saw him already at the table. Graham is never early. If anything, he's the human embodiment of a late fee. My mom had that look she gets when she's rehearsed a speech 10 times in the mirror. Tight smile, the kind that says, "This'll hurt me more than it hurts you." And my dad was unusually quiet, which is saying something for a man who once narrated an entire game of lawn darts. We did the usual small talk dance. How's work? How's Henry? How's your back since the weather turned? And I played along, carving my meat in slow, deliberate silence. Then Mom dabbed her mouth with a napkin and dropped the bomb like she was announcing a wedding. Graham's had a bit of bad luck at work. Translation, he's jobless again, and we want your wallet to play superhero. She kept going, spinning some corporate downsizing tale like he was a casualty of Wall Street, not a 38-year-old man-child who thought he was one NFT away from buying a Tesla. Then she said it, just flat out said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. We thought you could help cover his rent, just for a little while. That roast never stood a chance. I put my fork down, looked her straight in the eye. You're asking me to pay my grown brother's rent. Why? Because I'm responsible and he's allergic to the concept of employment? Dad muttered something about family helping family. And Graham, lounging like he was on break at a job he didn't have, had the audacity to shrug and say, "It's not forever, bro." That's when I knew this wasn't a request, it was a setup. The roles had already been cast. I was the wallet, he was the cause, they were the enablers dressed as victims. So I told them something I hadn't planned on saying. Not yet. Not that day. I'm selling my house. The silence after that? Glorious. They stared like I just confessed to burning down a church. But I wasn't bluffing. Not this time. Graham blinked first. What do you mean selling your house? I sipped my coffee and let the question hang in the air like smoke. Exactly what it sounds like. Mom recovered fastest. Elliot, be serious. You can't. I can. I already spoke to a realtor. I hadn't. Not yet. But I would. By the end of the week. You're being dramatic, she said, voice climbing that brittle octave she hits when things slip out of her control. We just asked for a little support, a few months of help. You mean again? I looked at Graham. How many few months has it been now? Remember 2017? Or when your NFT startup needed runway and you promised I'd be reimbursed? That was different, he said, glaring now. You were 32. Mom stood. This is not how family treats each other. No, I said, standing too. Family doesn't ambush each other over roast beef and try to guilt them into footing someone else's bills. Dad tried his best patriarch voice. We did what we had to do for you back then. You needed our help once too. I laughed. You mean when I asked if I could stay here after the divorce and you said you were too old to live with a child again? Silence. I turned to Graham. So now that I'm finally ahead, you think you're entitled to my money, my house? Because what, your SoundCloud dreams didn't pan out? I'm not a leech. I nodded slowly. Then prove it. Get a job. Any job. There's a hardware store 5 minutes from your place with a now hiring sign that's been up for months. I have a degree in music production. I built an audience. You bought bots.
He stood too fast, bumping the table. You always do this. Act like you're better. No, I said quietly. I just stopped pretending you weren't worse. Mom gasped like I'd slapped her. Elliot! Don't, I said. I'm done. And I was. I walked out without another word, my shoes still damp from the wet leaves outside. I got in my car, shut the door, and just sat there, hands on the wheel, the sound of my own breath loud in the cabin. I wasn't angry, not in the way I used to be. This wasn't about rage. This was about drawing a line, finally, clearly, and daring them to cross it again. They would, but this time, I'd be ready. It happened 3 days later. I was in the middle of a client call when my phone buzzed. Henry's school. I excused myself, heart already picking up speed. I answered, and Mrs. Ashcroft, the school secretary, was on the line. "Hi, Mr. Carpenter. Just calling to confirm you got your son home okay?" I frowned. "What do you mean? He's still at school, isn't he?" A pause. "Well, your mother picked him up about 15 minutes ago." Everything inside me went still. My mother? Yes, she said she was authorized, and we've seen her before, so... I didn't hear the rest. I was already grabbing my keys. Henry wasn't at home, but 10 minutes later, I found him in my parents' living room on the couch with a juice box in one hand and a slightly confused look on his face. Graham was on the other side of the room playing FIFA like he owned the place. "Dad," Henry lit up when he saw me. "Grandma said you were running late, so..." I knelt. "Hey, buddy, everything's okay, okay? Grab your bag, we're going home." Mom appeared in the doorway. "Elliot, really, this isn't necessary." I stood slowly, heart pounding. "You went to his school. He's our grandson. You didn't ask, you didn't tell me, you just took him. He wasn't in danger. That's not the point," I snapped. "You don't get to decide that anymore." She tried to sound calm, reasonable, like I was the one being irrational. "We were worried about you, Elliot. You've been so cold lately, so distant. We thought maybe giving you a breather?" "You kidnapped my son." That word stopped her short. Even Graham looked up from the game. I lowered my voice. "Don't ever do that again. Don't go near his school. Don't pick him up. Don't touch my life without my permission." Mom's voice cracked. "We're your family. And you're crossing lines that can't be uncrossed." Henry and I left without another word. The whole drive home he was quiet, watching me from the back seat. "Are you mad?" "No," I said, "but I'm done pretending everything's okay." That night after he went to bed, I wrote the school a formal email restricting all pickup permissions to me. Then I called Ava. "Time to lawyer up," I said. There was no more benefit of the doubt, no more room for misinterpretation. They had made it clear they didn't see boundaries, so I'd give them walls instead, and legal consequences to match. By the following Monday, Ava had sent over a draft of the emergency legal notice. Nothing too aggressive yet, just a formal cease-and-desist style letter outlining custodial interference and unauthorized access to property. She called it the polite punch in the face. I signed it, we sent it. 2 days later, I came home to find my side gate unlocked. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but I always double-checked the latch. I walked the perimeter. Nothing stolen, nothing broken, just a strange feeling like someone had been there and wanted me to know it. Inside, things were slightly off. A drawer in the kitchen left open. The spice rack turned, half a jar of cinnamon missing. One of Henry's shoes was moved from the mat to the edge of the hallway like it had been kicked by accident. I felt it in my bones. They'd been here. I checked the locks, no forced entry. Then I remembered. The spare key under the old garden gnome. I'd used it once when I locked myself out last year. Buried it in the soil. Never thought to move it. It was gone. I didn't call them. I didn't give them the satisfaction of a confrontation. I just replaced every lock in the house, had a security system installed with motion-triggered cameras, and moved Henry's room to the far side of the house. I also gave my son a new rule. Never open the door unless it's me. Not even for Grandma. Especially not for Grandma. Then, like they'd been waiting for my silence to stretch into something uncomfortable, I got a call from Dad. Just his name on my phone screen made my jaw tighten. I let it ring. Next, a voicemail. His voice, cool and firm, like a disappointed principal. "Elliot, this is getting out of hand. You're pushing away the people who care about you. Don't let your pride ruin what little family you have left." What little family I have left? They were the ones torching the bridge. I just finally stopped running across it, trying to save them. The next morning, I opened my bank app. A flagged alert. Attempted transfer, $4,200. Blocked. Device, unknown login. IP address, matched to previous activity from your parents' home network. They had tried to take money. That was it. No more defensive plays, no more warnings. I took screenshots, forwarded everything to Ava. She responded with one word. Good. The gloves were off now. If they wanted war, they were going to get one, but not the kind they were ready for. I didn't sleep much that week. It wasn't fear, it was calculation, the kind of restless energy your body holds when it knows something has to change now or it'll snap. I found myself pacing the hallway at midnight, my fingers twitching for some kind of control, any kind. So I channeled it into preparation. Ava and I filed a motion to correct the deed. That old email from Dad saying they wanted their names removed after 5 years, we attached it. 10 years had passed. They'd never followed through, but that message was legal gold. I also called a forensic accountant, someone Ava trusted, a woman named Leia who didn't do small talk and looked like she could file a subpoena while defusing a bomb. She got to work tracking every payment, every utility bill, every repair receipt tied to my house. Her report was brutal in its clarity. 100% of all financial obligations had been mine. Taxes, insurance, mortgage, upgrades, lawn service, security install, pest control, everything. 0 contributions from my parents. Ava grinned when she saw it. We've got them boxed in. But it was more than just legality now. It was psychological. I started documenting everything, every voicemail, every text, every vague post my mom dropped on Facebook about ungrateful children and family betrayal. I didn't comment, didn't even react. Silence is more powerful than rage when someone is desperate for attention. That's when the envelope showed up. Hand-delivered, no stamp, no return address, just my name in cursive in thick, expensive paper that screamed self-importance. Inside, a typed letter from their lawyer. We are demanding immediate financial compensation in the amount of $72,000 for shared equity in the property known as 17 Oak Ridge Lane. Failure to comply within 14 business days will result in legal action, including an injunction against the sale of the property. I read it 3 times, then slowly placed it on the kitchen table like it was a dead animal. $72,000. For what? For existing in proximity to my mortgage? They never maintained the house, never paid for repairs, never lifted a finger beyond signing a line 10 years ago, and now they were trying to extort me out of some imagined loyalty tax. Henry walked in halfway through my silent spiral. "Is that homework?" he asked, nodding at the letter. "No," I said, voice even. "Just some paperwork from people who think I owe them something." He didn't ask more.
He's smart like that. But he stood there for a second, like he was trying to figure out what kind of silence was in the room. Then he said, "Do you want to play chess?" I almost cried. Instead, I nodded. "Yeah, buddy, let's play." He beat me. Again. He's freakishly good. That night, after he went to bed, I called Ava. "They want $72K, I said. She didn't even blink. "Then it's time to go nuclear." We met at a diner the next morning, neutral ground, booth in the corner. She slid a folder across the table before I'd even sat down. "I did some digging," she said. She tapped the first page with a red painted fingernail. "Their lawyer? Semi-retired, specializes in HOA disputes and uncontested divorces. They didn't even try to hire someone real." She flipped to the next page. "Also, no legal standing, no paperwork, no contracts. Their claim is based on a vague idea of implied equity, but they never contributed financially, and your dad's email undermines their entire case." I exhaled. So we hit back. "Oh," she said, "we surgically dismantle." Our counter letter was a masterpiece.
We have reviewed your client's demand and find the claim to be without legal merit. Should your clients proceed, we are prepared to file for a declaratory judgment confirming sole ownership of the property, as well as a countersuit for harassment, trespassing, and attempted financial fraud. We sent it certified mail, signature required. Then we waited. But I didn't just sit back. While Ava handled the legal front, I went for the social flank. Quietly, strategically, I talked to Mrs. Jenkins, my old high school English teacher who now ran the community newsletter. Sweet lady, sharp memory, hates family drama unless it's really good. When I told her what my parents did, picking Henry up without permission, her eyes went wide. What? I nodded. Didn't even tell me, just showed up and said I was running late. She shook her head slowly. Oh, Elliot, that's not just wrong, that's dangerous. 3 days later, her column dropped. When family lines are crossed, a cautionary tale for modern parents. She didn't name names, but in a town like ours, everyone knew. Within a week, my parents stopped showing up to their bridge club. Church attendance got suspiciously sparse. Graham posted some vague Facebook status about fake family members and selfish snakes that got exactly 3 likes, one of which was a bot account. I didn't comment. Didn't need to. Because this wasn't revenge. It was exposure. And I wasn't done yet. The silence from my parents' side lasted exactly 9 days. Then my doorbell rang. I checked the camera feed. Them. Both standing on my porch like a sitcom intervention. Mom in her best Sunday visit cardigan, Dad in his pressed khakis. I didn't answer. I just watched. They didn't ring again. Just stood there for a while, like ghosts hoping to be let in. Then they left an envelope. Another one. This one handwritten, my full name in calligraphy like it was supposed to soften the blow. Inside was a single-page letter. We never thought you'd take this so far. You've humiliated us, betrayed us. All we wanted was fairness. You're choosing money over blood. You'll regret it. No signature, no apology, no ownership. Just guilt, as usual, dressed up in concern. I didn't react. I didn't even tell Ava. Instead, I printed a copy and added it to the folder. Exhibit number 37. That same afternoon, I got a call from the realtor I'd hired, Celeste. You won't believe this. Your parents came by the house. I was already gripping the steering wheel harder than I should. What do you mean, came by? She explained. She'd scheduled a walkthrough for a potential buyer. My parents showed up, said they were co-owners, and demanded access. Celeste shut them down on the spot, told them to leave or she'd call the police. Before they left, my mother said something, loudly.
Clearly, this house was never his anyway. We paid for it. And thanks to the miracle of doorbell cameras and Celeste's inspector's phone, I had it on video. Audio included. I sent it to Ava. She replied 5 minutes later. Subpoena material. I'm filing. That was the moment the tide turned. It wasn't just petty interference anymore. It was pattern. Trespassing, attempted fraud, character defamation, custodial interference. And now, a verbal admission contradicting everything they'd claimed in writing. That same day, Ava filed the motion for a declaratory judgment, our official legal request for the court to declare me the sole rightful owner of the property, removing their names and any false claim to equity once and for all. But she added one more thing, a request for a psychiatric review. Not for me, for the court to evaluate the mental competency of the parties making false claims and erratic behaviors. They wanted to paint me as unstable? I'd turn the mirror back on them. We had everything now. Paper trail, video, statements, login attempts, the full financial history. We were going to court. Not for vengeance, for freedom. Court wasn't what I expected. No dramatic marble staircase, no gavel slams or gasps from the crowd, just a quiet beige room with worn carpet, fluorescent lights, and a judge who looked like he wanted to be anywhere else but here. Ava and I sat side by side at a small table, our folders neatly stacked, my hands doing their best impression of calm. Across from us, Mom, Dad, and their lawyer, a retired local who used to run estate workshops at the library. Graham wasn't allowed inside. After mouthing off to courthouse security during check-in, the judge ordered him to wait in the hallway. No one said it, but we all felt it. This was the final act. Ava opened with facts. Mortgage records showing me as the sole payer for 10 straight years. Property taxes, maintenance invoices, HOA payments, utility bills, all in my name. Every single one. Then came the email, Dad's 2015 message to the bank stating their intention to remove themselves from the title after 5 years. The judge adjusted his glasses, read it slowly, then looked over the top of the page at my parents. No one spoke. I was called next, swore in, took the stand, and told the truth. How I'd paid for the house, how my parents promised it was mine, how they never contributed a dime after year 2, how they gave my spare key to Graham, how he moved in without permission, how they pulled Henry out of school behind my back, and how they attempted to move money out of my account. Ava submitted the forensic login report. Then she submitted the footage, my parents trying to enter my house after it had been listed, my mother yelling, "This house was never his anyway, we paid for it." The judge paused the video, looked directly at my mother. "Is that your voice, ma'am?" She hesitated. I was emotional. "Was it your voice?" "Yes." He nodded. "Noted." Their lawyer tried to spin it as emotional misunderstanding, mutual intent, a blurred line of ownership over time. The judge wasn't buying it. "Did you pay the taxes?" "No," Dad mumbled. "Insurance?" "No." "Any documented maintenance?" "No." He leaned back. "Then what exactly is your financial stake here?" Silence. They had nothing.
No evidence, no ground, just entitlement wrapped in guilt. 5 minutes later, the judge ruled, "This court finds that Elliot Carpenter is the sole legal and equitable owner of the property located at 17 Oak Ridge Lane. All claims of shared equity are denied. The lien is removed. Case closed." Boom. Done. I should have felt relief, but what I felt was clarity. It wasn't just about the house anymore. That courtroom wasn't a battleground, it was a funeral for the version of me who still hoped they'd change. 3 days later, I mailed out copies of the ruling. Not to them, to everyone they cared about. Church friends, bridge partners, former co-workers, every contact they'd ever name-dropped around town. The cover letter was simple. "For your records, in light of recent rumors, the attached ruling speaks for itself." The ripple was instant. A week later, my mom tried calling Ava directly, left a voicemail full of accusations. The court clerk flagged it and filed a warning. Graham made a Facebook post calling me a traitor with no soul. Someone commented, "Didn't you try to rob your brother?" No replies after that. I said nothing, because the final blow hadn't landed yet, but it was coming, and it was going to be quiet. The house sold 2 weeks later. Cash offer, full price, no conditions. The developer even agreed to my only request. I got to keep the security footage. I didn't throw a party, didn't post about it. I just packed up what mattered, loaded Henry into the car, and drove to our new place. Smaller, brighter, farther from everything that used to feel like home and now just felt like surveillance. It had a lemon tree in the backyard. Henry decided he was starting a lemonade stand next summer. I told him we'd build it together. Real wood, real tools. His face lit up like it was Christmas. A week after the move, Henry came home from school holding an envelope. "It's from Grandma," he said, confused. "The office gave it to me. Someone dropped it off this morning." Cream-colored, heavy paper. My name in cursive. No stamp, no return address. I opened it alone in the kitchen. "We never thought you'd take things this far. You've humiliated us, embarrassed the family, and chosen money over blood. Just know that when you're alone, we tried. We tried to love you. You made it impossible." I folded it neatly, dropped it into the trash. Then I turned to Henry. "Want to get pizza?" He grinned. "Can I get 2 toppings?" "You can get 4. Later that night, we sat on the back porch. Crickets, stars, quiet. He was building a Lego set on a folding table. I was sipping tea, wrapped in an old hoodie, watching the lemon trees sway in the breeze. "Are you happy now?" he asked without looking up. I didn't answer right away. I looked at him. Safe, smiling, free. Then I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I think I finally am." And for the first time in years, I actually meant it.